Like I said at the end of the last video, it was simply getting too long for a single video, if I have to be entirely honest. And like I said, SNES 9X was giving me this. We're going to split things up. We're going to make directory SNES, PSX, and PS2. And as you can see, that created 3 directories, SNES, PSX, and PS2. We're going to move Chrono Trigger to SNES. We're going to move FF9 to PSX. We're going to move Persona. Oh, would help if you put the move command in. We're going to move that to PS2. Now we're going to move BIOS / SCPH 5501 star to PSX, and move BIOS 39001 star to PS2. Then we should have no need for the BIOS directory, so just remove. Now this directory looks a lot cleaner with only directories underneath it, no files. What we're going to do is we're going to start with SNES 9X. We are going to see if we can configure a few things first. I don't see why we should need hardware acceleration. The CPU's strong enough to handle software. Joypads. Let's see if we can get this gamepad set up. I've got a really ancient Logitech dual action gamepad. Looks like it works. Neat. Apply those settings. Automatically adjust input rate to display, dynamic rate control, mute sound output, mute sound when using turbo or rewind, buffer size 48 milliseconds. If the sound doesn't process right, you might need to change the buffer size. That's all I can really say about that. Merge adjacent pairs or scale low resolution screens. I actually like my games to look pixelated when I have them scaled up. So yeah, let's keep everything just the way it is. Open ROM image, and from our home we're going to pull up the copy of Chrono Trigger. I don't seem to be getting any sound. And I think I know why I'm not getting any sound. We're getting graphics, which is good, I suppose. But the reason we're not getting any sound is because those are the groups we have assigned. And we would probably need to have a couple of other groups assigned, specifically audio. Here's how we go about doing that. User mod. If you don't know how to use user mod, /help. But basically what we're going to want to do is user mod G, and we're going to want to go back over to here, and we're going to add audio and video. See if that reflects over here. It does not. It still does not. This is one of those things that you have to log out and log back in to fix, which means I will have to terminate this X session. Unfortunate, but that's the reality of things. So in order to terminate the X session, you simply use logout and logout. That brings you back to the command line, and over here, I don't like that. /group user mod G wheel, and we're going to also want to add nothing. Doesn't look like I need to add anything. Maybe users. Definitely going to need access to the man page. We're going to add LibreOffice as well. Even though LibreOffice seems to work just fine. USB, CD-ROM, CDRW, input. There. Now it's got all of the users which I selected. In order to sync that, we need to exit, put in my super secret password, which everybody already knows. Quick little FYI, I do not use such a simple password on all of my other systems. I just used that one as an example password. Yes, there we go. Now we've got full control over the sound. Let's go back to SNES 9X and reopen Chrono Trigger. Beautiful. Just the way I remember it. Although, I could go for it being a little bit larger. There we go. That's a lot better. Let's see if it works. Okay, the controller appears to work. Oh wow, and it's got all my old save files. But let's start a new game. Yeah. This game is a true classic, I would say. I really don't understand why they did not put it on the SNES Classic Mini. I really don't understand that. As far as the sound being duplicated, I know. It's because the sound's being picked up from my monitor and put through to my headphones. But my headphones are part of a headset, so it makes things a little bit difficult. Alright. Her name's Luca. Come on now. I could just as easily call her Bulma, though. Yay! 200 G. Not Gil, G. But yes, this is my copy of Chrono Trigger, complete with my ancient saved games. From, I don't even know how long ago. It looks good. It looks good, plays good. And that's all I need to know. I also need to quit dropping stuff. So, let's quit. And that's good for Super Nintendo emulation. How about PlayStation emulation? Got PCSXr. And as usual, we are going to want to go into the configuration, start with plugins and BIOS. It looks like this is the default it gives me. I'm going to go for the OpenGL driver and see what it gives me. A width of 640 and a height of 480. Let's do 1280 by 960. We're not going to go full screen. I suppose I can leave most of this stuff on standard, except that right there, because it's for FF9 and we might need that. Card buffer reads and moves. Card buffer. We're going to leave that at standard. We've got 32 gigabytes of RAM and I don't know how much VRAM. Now we're not going to use filtering. And VRAM size is going to be set to auto. Okay. There's that. High compatibility mode can sometimes cause problems, but other times not. We're going to leave everything as is because I'm not entirely sure what the results are going to be. Up, down, left, right. It is annoying having to do these one at a time. There. Now we've got a control pad. This thing doesn't have vibration, so we'll just disable that. What's under options? Almost forgot. You have to run that command every single time you start up a new X session. Looks like everything's good on the gamepad configuration. We're not worried about the CD-ROM. And as far as the BIOS, it does have a way to simulate the PlayStation BIOS. However, it can be a little bit easier if you use an actual PlayStation BIOS, such as my SCPH5501. So we're going to run ISO, PlayStation, FF9 Disk 1, Japanese. I'm going to increase the sound levels because I cannot hear a... Aha! Like all things, this requires configuration, which also means we're going to have to stop the emulation. So hit shutdown right there to close the emulator and go to sound. And we are going to try reduce the high compatibility mode because in some cases it's the compatibility that causes all these problems. Alright, and at first glance you might not think that it's the Japanese version because image illustration, Yoshitaka Amano, and all of this stuff is displayed in English. However, once it gets to playing actual dialogue, you will see that it is most definitely the Japanese version. Although why it's not playing sound on this video, I don't exactly know. That's something we're going to have to investigate. So once again, shut down. We'll re-enable the high compatibility mode, just to see if that makes any difference for the cutscenes that we're going to be entering. And yes, the audio here is going to be choppy. The cutscene audio is still choppy, but at least it's playing. And there are a couple of configuration things that we can play around with. We've already tried disabling the high compatibility mode, and that caused it to play a little bit more smoothly. Let's remove SPU-IRQ wait. See if that does us any good. Nope. That does us absolutely no good. Still has the choppy audio. So let's try disabling both high compatibility mode and SPU-IRQ wait and see what happens. Seem to recall the music playing a little bit faster than this, but that might just be my imagination. Yes. No. That's real bad. And this is troubleshooting emulators themselves. Choose this if XA music is played too quickly. I think the cutscenes might be XA, but I'm not sure. We'll try that. And that's right about where it stops. So it looks like if we want to play it without the cutscene audio, we'll have to use the high compatibility mode, and that'll make it so that the cutscene audio doesn't play, so it'll look like this. And it's still doing that. It's like it got stuck on that particular frame, or something like that. But in any case, you can see that it's definitely playing, albeit with some, shall we say, difficulties with the audio. As you can see, it is most definitely the Japanese version. I, unfortunately, am far from proficient with Japanese. The reason I got this is because it was the cheapest game I could find that I knew of, that I could use to test if Japanese games actually worked with these emulators, and if I could do the disc swap with the Japanese version of the game on actual hardware. Turns out, both worked. So, it looks like what we've got is a configuration issue with the sound, and I don't know, maybe disabling interpolation will do something, but not counting on it. In any case, it appears that PlayStation emulation works, although it could still use a little bit of work, specifically in tuning the audio. PCSX2 first time configuration. Now this is new. I don't actually recall ever seeing this. English. Let me see here. GS is graphics synthesizer. OpenGL. Interlacing, texture filtering. Honestly, I don't know what most of this stuff does. The gamepad, though, I do know what that is. The Logitech Dual Action, do not enable rumble, and why is this? We'll try this one. Yep, okay, that works. So the legacy settings do work. There. Hit apply, hit OK, and it looks like lib1pad legacy is the one that we need to be using for this particular controller. Guessing if I had a newer controller, I could probably use the regular lib1pad, which is the 1pad 2.0.0 or whatever. We don't really need to worry about much else other than that on this screen. And we need to change where it looks for the BIOS. We need to have it look under PS2 for the BIOS. And that's the one. There we go. That's fantastic. Looks like it works. Going to boot in ISO, PlayStation 2, Persona 3 FES, and the speed's already dipping. Ah, yes. Looks like it's working. It sure doesn't sound like it's working, though. And that, again, is one of those things we'll have to do a shutdown and check the audio plugin. Ah, see? Let's do port audio. Oh, yeah, port audio, because port audio API is ALSA. Okay. And the SDL API can be dummy for all I care. Okay. Let's try this again. It's got some variation on the speed, once again. If this works. Oh, good lord, it's going at 48%. Yep, it works. But good lord, is that everything about that is going way, way too slow. Shut down. Alright, disable frame limiting, slow motion adjust, turbo adjust, speed hacks, game fixes. Doesn't look like there's anything there that can help me. In any case, PlayStation 2 emulation seems to work. It just requires some additional configuration. That's all the emulators. Like I said, if they don't seem to work, they probably just require some additional configuration. That'll be all for this video. It's already gotten long enough, I think.